about a new super powerful way to design disruptive products. Okay? So successful startups must create significant disruption. And all disruption is caused by superior product market fit. Because, as Mark Andreessen once said, product market fit is the only thing that matters, because really what else could it be? So what I want to talk about is a way to measure and manage product market fit. So there are three parts to product market fit. The first is the customer value model, which is what's important to your customer. As Simon said, know your customer. The second is product performance, which is how satisfied your customer is with those things that they think are important. And the third is competitive advantage, what we call delta value. So we're going to look at each one. So the first thing I want you guys to think about is that every product is really a portfolio of ranked values. Whether it's an app or a motorcycle or a soft drink, right? It breaks down into things that people care about. Some people call this the jobs that products are hired for, jobs to be done, right? So we call this the customer value model, the list of things, the ranked list of things that people care about. So we designed the customer value model this way, is that we have different value dimensions, and the length of each value dimension determines the weight or the importance of how important it is to that customer. So if you're buying a car or a truck, you might say horsepower is 50% of your decision-making process, gas mileage, and fair price. So let's look at a fictional example and compare two watches, the Timex, which is an American brand, takes a licking and keeps on ticking, or Rolex, live for greatness. And so if you were an entrepreneur, which of these watches would you want to create? So what we would do is we'd look at, again, a fictional example of, say that there are three important value dimensions for watches: quality, durability, and fair price. Are you guys seeing the slides change?
No.
No.
Okay, that's problematic.
Yes.
Yes, now.
Yeah, no.
Yes, we see.
All right, so I can't show you my super cool animations, but we will just carry on. All right, so these are the value dimensions we're estimating for the watch industry: quality, durability, and fair price. The quality is 50% of a buyer's decision, durability is 30%, fair price is 20%. So Rolex does real well in quality. People are 90% satisfied that they're getting a high quality watch when they buy a Rolex. Durability, yeah, it's pretty durable, but not, as they don't feel as strongly about it as they do with quality. And the fair price, they're a little bit uncomfortable with, and they're willing to buy it, but they would wish that they feel the price is a little bit high. Okay? Oh, come on. So this is where the rubber hits the road. This is where the important part is. We compare head-to-head Rolex to Timex, right? And so in the quality dimension, Rolex dominates Timex. Timex is a everyday watch. So people are 90% satisfied with the Rolex quality, but only 40% satisfied with Timex quality. So the difference between the satisfaction levels is what we call delta value. That's that red bar. Okay. However, even though Rolex dominates quality, Timex dominates durability and fair price. Right? And so it's more durable. People are 100% satisfied that Timex takes a licking and keeps on ticking, and it's better priced. So if you add up all of the performance times the score, of course, you get the total product market fit score. So in this case, Rolex has a 10% advantage in product market fit over Timex. So what does that mean for the brand? Which one of these two watches would you want to invent and sell? I can't do my animations, but Timex does about $495 million a year, whereas Rolex had a record-setting year last year at $13 billion. So also, as Rolex watches are collectibles, and they have a higher return as a collectible than stocks, gold, or real estate. So this is the innovator's secret formula. It is delta value, which is the weighted sum of the difference in customer satisfaction. So the key thing to remember about delta value or competitive advantage is that it is responsible for all business advantages. Delta value drives higher market price, higher market share, better customer loyalty, lower cost of customer acquisition because people actually want your product more, higher lifetime value of customer because people spend more and stay with you longer, ultimately higher profitability, and eventually you become the market leader. So delta value is really the only thing that matters because what else could it be? So I'm going to talk a little bit about how once you have a product, how can you improve your product market fit so that you can create a disruptive product? There are 4 ways, real quickly. Again, my animations all blew up. Let's see if I can do this here. If you can see that. All right, so the number 1 way is you can improve product performance. Make your products faster, better, cheaper. Actually increase the value that customers receive in each of the key dimensions. Now what that usually does is it reduces the fair price. It's more expensive to produce a higher quality product. And a lot of people are focused on trying to produce the lowest price product. But if you notice, the value dimensions for, in this case, quality and durability are much higher. They're much more important than price. So by making a product more valuable, by making it higher quality, more durable, people will, your total product market fit goes up, even if your satisfaction with price goes down. Okay, so the next thing you can do is change the dimensions of importance. You can make certain dimensions more important through advertising, and understanding your customer better. So in this case, what you can do is you can take price and say, well, in times of turmoil like we're in now, do you really want to be spending money on Rolex when you should be saving your money for food and medicine? And the third most powerful dimension, and this is where disruption happens, is add a new dimension. So imagine the Timex introduced spy features. They added a laser beam or a grappling hook or a saw or a high power magnet. All those appeared in James Bond movies, right? Well, all of a sudden they've changed the game, right? So if your Timex has got a spy feature and that's important to people, right, then it's the only watch to buy. And that's what Tesla did, and that's what iPhone did. They introduced new features into their products that completely changed the game, and the competition had no chance to compete. And then the fourth way is to change your target market. If you're not making successful sales in one market, go to a different market where people care more about your product. So, for example, there are people that sell old refurbished computers into developing countries. Do you remember the IBM PC had 640K? Or WD-40, which was originally a military product, and they sold it into the consumer brands now. So this slide gets a lot of laughs in America. It's, I say, one of the greatest inventions of the 21st century, and Crisco appears. I did some research, and you guys don't have Crisco in the UK. You have something called Trex, but it's vegetable shortening. It's the same thing. So here's a real-world example of how Crisco became to be a market leader. So the challenge is that Crisco is an unknown, revolutionary, and synthetic product. It's crystallized cottonseed oil, as delicious as that sounds. So they call it Crisco. It was going up against lard, which is pork fat, which is used for frying. And lard tastes much better than Crisco. There's no doubt about that. So the question is, how can a new entrant, how can a David capture market share from a Goliath, right? Especially when the most important feature, taste, is the thing you're worst at. So again, this is easier with animations. I'm sorry they're not working. So here's how Crisco smeared lard, also a great pun. Crisco can't compete on brand or taste, right? So what they did is they introduced a new dimension called health. And then they marketed that dimension and made people believe that that Crisco was healthier than lard, right? And so eventually, let's see if I can run this just to see the animations. Introduced a new dimension, marketed the hell out of it, and ended up being the leading brand for health in the shortening industry. And basically, they so demolished lard that it was basically put the lard people, most of the lard producers, out of business. But the epilogue of the story is that lard is better for you after all. In fact, Crisco's trans fatty acids caused all sorts of heart disease, cancer, growth problems, birth disorders, infertility, etc. And Procter & Gamble may not have known this when they started, but they did discover it along the way. So they hired doctors to cover up the problems. And eventually they had to redesign Crisco and get rid of the trans fatty acids. So the takeaway is that this is your life if you have a low PMF product. If you're low product market fit, you are like Sisyphus trying to push a rock up the hill. But this is your life if you have a high product market fit product, right? So in summary, I want you to remember that delta value drives all competitive advantage. You get higher market price, higher market share, better customer loyalty, lower cost of customer acquisition, higher lifetime value of a customer, and higher profitability. So your path to market leadership is by producing the highest product market fit you can. And remember, delta value is the only thing that matters, because what else could it be? And that's it.
Thank you.
And I'll take questions if there are any. If anybody's still awake.
Can you hear me? Chris, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, Chris, no, that's absolutely fabulous. Really, really good. Could people on the online audience please put some questions into the chat? Because it would be, I think it's the chat that's much easier, Chris, if you have a look at the chat. So what we need is some questions. What we need is some questions in the chat. Meanwhile, is there anything people can think of while we're waiting for chat questions to follow up on the pathway that we're taking to product development? Any questions in the chat, Chris?
So while people are thinking about it, I'll just add this one thought, is that product market fit is probably the root cause of most startup failures. And that and the whole point about idea validation and market testing is to assure that you do have high product market fit. And so what I was talking about was how you can think about product market fit and designing it into your product.
Chris, I was just wondering if you had, sorry, Chris Fox here.
Do I need the mic to ask it then?
Yeah, speak this way.
So that was fascinating to see a mathematically verifiable model put on that. What I couldn't quite get my head around as I was watching it is how does that model work for, say, niche markets? So clearly, going back to a watch example, that's what I was reading. Clearly, there are lots of different niche markets for watches. And I guess for some people, they would only ever buy a Timex, and for some people, they would only ever buy a Rolex. It almost doesn't matter. I wouldn't buy either, right? I wear a garment for a completely different reason. So how do you apply that model with that kind of issue or diversity?
Right.
Thanks.
Excellent question. Okay, so as Peter talked about previously, there are customer personas or customer niches. And so for simplicity, I omitted this, but there is a tree structure, right? And so the tree structure is at the low end, at each niche is like the leaf at the end of the tree structure. And so there are people who are only, let's say, exotic watch buyers, and they're looking at Omegas and Rolexes, and they never even consider a Timex, right? So in the same way, you just narrow your focus and you say, okay, in the exotic watch, market, people care about gold and diamonds and the watch movement and those type of things, right? Durability never even comes into their mind because they're on display. On the other hand, there's the working man's watch, and the idea of gold and diamonds would never enter his mind, right? He wants something that's not going to break his first day on the job. And so as you move across niches, your customer value model changes for every person in that niche. Now, ultimately, at the very bottom of the tree, each person has a unique customer value model. And so as you aggregate people, you lose accuracy, right? Because this person is cares about this, and this person cares about something else a little bit different. And you're trying to get a generalized feel across a reasonably sized market niche.
Perfect, thanks. And I guess that leads to, I've got to buy the book to see the tree, right?
I'm sorry, you're hard to hear.
I guess that leads me to the point where I have to buy the book to see your tree, but that's a great answer. Then.
No, actually, you have to buy the second book to see the tree. So.
Chris, there's a couple of questions in the chat I can see now. If you have a look at the chat.
Okay. How would you apply the model to DEI, specifically homogeneous teams versus heterogeneous teams? Wow, that is a tough question. Well, as I said, each person has their own unique customer value model, right? And so the grouping, as Peter said, grouping of people are along their customer value models is really how you do market grouping. So when I guess the question about homogeneous versus heterogeneous is that if, how do I say this? It is an art form, but as things become more different, more heterogeneous, then they become a new niche. So, like I said, high-end watch buyers versus traditional, ordinary watch wearers could be two different niches. Second question: for product development at initial level, which are the questions that the founders should ask? So finding out what people's customer value models are takes market research, market survey requirements, but it also is a bit of anthropology. And you have to go and live with people, and people will tell you things, but they don't maybe know they cannot put it in terms that is useful for most product designers. The two of the examples are, you've probably heard this. Henry Ford once said, if I asked my customers what they wanted, they would have said faster horses, right? And Steve Jobs had this similar thought. He was more arrogant, and he says, I don't ask my customers what they want. I tell them what they want. They don't know until I tell them, right? So the questions that people should be asking are, when if you're in the market for X, for a new product, what's important to you? Why would you buy product A versus product B, right? And they will often tell you price is what they make decisions on. That is incorrect. Price is almost always the last thing people make decisions on. People almost always make their primary decision based on quality or some other feature that's really important to them. For example, Tesla. You guys have Teslas over in the UK? Yes?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. What is Tesla? If you had to reduce Tesla into a single word, what is it? Any ideas?
Battery powered cars. See the word car.
I hear electric cars.
Yes.
Incorrect. A Tesla is not an electric car. A Tesla is a tribe. And one of the examples is that Chevy built the Chevy Volt here in the U.S., and it was a car. It was a $30,000 car. It had limited range. It was an ordinary, what we call a grocery getter, and it was the least sold car they've ever built. They had more of them sitting in the parking lot than ever. When Tesla first came out, people laughed at it. They said, "Who is going to pay $100,000 for a go-kart?" It's an electric go-kart. It's limited range. The first one was the Roadster. And it wasn't a car. All the car industry people recognized that the Tesla had failed building a car. What Tesla succeeded in was building a tribe. And so people were proud to pay $100,000 because you are not driving a car. You are, driving the Gucci of cars, right? And this is the same thing for women's purses. I went to buy my wife a purse one day, and I said, I'll get her a Gucci purse. She likes that. And the prices start at $600 for a purse, right? You do not need a $600 purse, right? And some of the prices are $6,000. So it's a $100 purse with a $500 logo on it because you're a member of a tribe. So it's a different way to think about what the value models are, what the value dimensions are. Sometimes being part of a tribe is way more important than the product.
Thank you, Chris. Are there any more questions you can put in the chat? More questions from the floor here?
And I'll stick around and I'll answer stuff in the chat if people want to.
Okay, great. Chris, thank you very much. Last question. Before you go, you've got a book, yeah?
I do have a book.
Yeah. You're online. Is there anywhere online people can get your book? Is there
Yeah, there's a website called Amazon. Go look at them.
But if you can put your book in the chat as well or a link to it.
Sure.
Thanks. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, guys.